Growing up, I was often seen as the self-sufficient daughter, overshadowed by the constant care my younger sister Julissa required due to her asthma. Each morning was a predictable scene. My mother would rush to Julissa's bedside, filled with worry, ensuring she was breathing comfortably, while I prepared myself for school alone. "Julissa, honey, how are you feeling today? Remember your inhaler," she'd fuss. Meanwhile, I'd pack a simple lunch for myself, just a sandwich and an apple. My father's routine wasn't much different. He poured extra hours into work to cover Julissa's medical expenses, and his spare moments at home were dedicated to her. "How's my little fighter doing?" He'd greet her, often barely acknowledging me. As Julissa visited various specialists, I navigated my challenges independently, managing schoolwork and personal issues without guidance. My mother, consumed by her role as Julissa's caretaker, rarely offered help with my academic endeavors. By the time I reached my senior year, I had excelled academically on my own, secretly applying for scholarships as my parents were preoccupied with Julissa's treatments. The day I received a full scholarship, I rushed home, eager to share the news, only to find my excitement overshadowed by the preparation of Julissa's allergen-free meal. "That's nice, dear. Could you set the table? Julissa needs to eat soon," my mom responded distractedly. That moment clarified my secondary place in our family, yet it didn't dampen my spirit. Instead, it spurred me on. I embraced my independence and the opportunities it brought. Leaving for college was a quiet affair. My mom was engrossed with another of Julissa's health crises, and my dad simply wished me a safe drive. College was a revelation. I immersed myself in my studies, formed genuine friendships, and graduated with honors. Soon after, I secured a well-paying job at Reynolds and Company. Throughout college, contact with my parents was minimal and usually centered around Julissa's condition. However, when I started earning, their interest was piqued, particularly when financial help was needed. Despite never being repaid for the money I lent them, I found a certain satisfaction in knowing they now depended on me in some small way. Life took a brighter turn when I met Andrew, whose optimism and humor brought joy into my life. After a year, he proposed in the most unexpectedly delightful way, hiding a ring in a coffee cup in our break room. Our relationship marked a new chapter where I was valued and seen, a stark contrast to my upbringing. When I shared with my parents that we were planning to get married, my mom immediately expressed concern, saying, "Oh, but with Julissa facing some health challenges right now, we might not be able to help out financially." I reassured her quickly, "We don't need any financial assistance. We've got this covered ourselves." And indeed, we did. We organized a beautiful, intimate wedding with only our nearest friends in attendance. Andrew and I funded everything on our own, enjoyed a modest but lovely honeymoon by the sea, and returned eager to start our life together. We both dedicated ourselves to our jobs and were diligent savers. Within 3 years, we had saved enough to make a down payment on a cozy apartment, which we fully paid off 4 years later. One evening, as we relaxed on our balcony admiring the sunset, Andrew suggested, "Maybe it's time we thought about having a baby." Gazing at him, I felt immense gratitude for this incredible man who had brought so much love, support, and true partnership into my life. "Yes," I agreed, smiling, "we should." Our daughter Aura was born the following spring, a healthy and beautiful baby girl. Andrew overflowed with pride, capturing every little moment with his camera. When Aura was just 3 months old, Andrew received a significant promotion at work that required a brief business trip. "Just a 4-day trip to Milwaukee, and then I'll be back with you and Aura," he assured us, giving Aura a kiss on her forehead before we drove him to the train station. Tragically, that was the last time I saw him. The next call I received was not from Andrew, but from the railway company informing me of a terrible accident. The train had derailed, and there were no survivors. The weeks following Andrew's death were a haze. I mechanically cared for Aura, feeling numb and barely alive myself. When the insurance company contacted me regarding Andrew's life insurance, I realized money was not what I needed most. Desperately needing support, I called my mother, my voice breaking as I spoke. "Mom, I can't do this by myself. Could you help with Aura, just for a few months, while I find my footing?" There was a pause before she responded. "Oh, honey, you know I'm not as young as I used to be. With my blood pressure, I just can't manage the demands of caring for a baby." I felt a sting of disappointment, especially considering the years she devoted entirely to Julisa's needs. Now, when I needed her most, she was unavailable. Resigned, I replied, "Yeah, I'll figure something out." And figured out I did. I hired a wonderful nanny named Elizabeth who cared for Aura as if she were her own. The life insurance funds enabled me to afford the best care for my daughter, and gradually, we adapted to our new life. Aura grew into a spirited toddler, each day more reminiscent of Andrew's joyful smile. Then, I received a call about my sister Julisa's engagement. "Your sister is marrying Connor," Mom enthused. "His family owns a major real estate company. Can you believe it?" "That's wonderful," I responded, watching Aura play. The joy, however, was short-lived. My next call was from my stressed father. "Greta, we need to discuss Julisa's wedding. We're considering taking out a loan against the house." The stark contrast in my family's financial support for my sister's wedding compared to their availability for me was painfully clear. When my father mentioned the amount they were considering for Julisa's wedding, I immediately felt a wave of nausea. "Dad, no. That's your house, your safety net for retirement. You can't jeopardize that for just one day." But his voice hardened, adopting that stern tone I remembered from my childhood. "We can't let the Connors think we're unable to give Julisa a proper wedding. We've already signed the papers." I tried to talk them into a more modest celebration, even offering to contribute financially, but my mother was offended. "You don't understand, Greta. This is Julisa's big day. She deserves the wedding of her dreams. We can't have her future in-laws thinking we're ordinary." I reflected on my own wedding, which was small, simple, and utterly perfect. Andrew and I had proudly paid for everything ourselves, eager to start our lives together without the burden of debt. But, as usual, Julisa wanted something more lavish. Julisa's wedding was as extravagant as expected, over the top, and according to my mother, absolutely perfect. Then Julisa and Connor moved to Philadelphia, and soon, my parents' perfect daughter didn't seem so perfect after all. "Can you believe she won't even take our calls?" my mother cried over the phone one evening. "We took out that loan for her wedding, and now she won't help with the payments." I suppressed an "I told you so," and instead offered sympathy. "That must be hard, Mom." Gradually, my parents began to reach out more. It wasn't just when they needed money. They wanted to see Aura, invited us for Sunday dinners, and even remembered my birthday for the first time in years. It felt good, like maybe we could really be a family. I started helping them more, covering some bills, and for their 36th wedding anniversary, I surprised them with a vacation to Florida and a new car for Dad. "You're such a good daughter, Greta," my mom said, actually hugging me. It was the first hug I could remember in years. Then my father became seriously ill, something with his heart that kept him from working for months. One evening, they called me over after Aura's bedtime. "We're going to lose the house," Dad said weakly. Mom, teary-eyed, added, "We don't know what to do, Greta. We're already behind on the loan payments." "Move in with us," Mom suggested suddenly. "We could help with Aura after school, and you could help with the loan payments." "Please, sweetheart. We don't want to lose our home." Considering the request, I thought about my apartment, my independence, and the life I had built for Aura and myself. "I don't know, Mom. It's an hour's commute to work from here." "Please," Dad urged, and seeing the genuine fear in his eyes changed my mind. "We'll make it work." Aura would love having her grandparents around. They were right about that. When I told Aura about the possibility of moving in with Grandma and Grandpa, her face lit up with joy. Within a month, we were moved in. I found reliable tenants for my apartment, a young couple with steady jobs who signed a year-long lease. Aura was thrilled, exploring every nook of the house with the wonder of discovering a magical castle. I took over the loan payments and most household expenses. Overnight, it seemed, my mom transformed into the grandmother she had never been, picking up Aura from school, helping with her homework, and baking her favorite snacks. "Look what Grandma made for you, Aura," she would say, presenting fresh cookies from the oven. Aura's smile would light up the room, and I tried not to dwell on the empty kitchens of my childhood. For a while, everything seemed to work. Dad's health improved, albeit slowly. I adjusted to the long commute, reminding myself it was worth it to see Aura so happy. Each month, as I made the loan payment, I reassured myself that I was helping my parents keep their home, fulfilling a duty that felt both burdensome and profoundly meaningful. Despite the shared joy and closeness at my parents' house, there was a persistent nagging feeling in the back of my mind, a quiet voice always questioning, how long can this last? When will everything change again? Once my dad regained his health and returned to work, I noticed my mom began to make more and more excuses to avoid watching Aura. My back hurts today, Greta. Or, I'm not as young as I used to be. It's so exhausting to keep up with a child her age. Finally, one morning she was straightforward. I think you should hire a nanny. I can't handle this anymore. So, I hired Nancy, a kind-hearted older woman who bonded with Aura instantly. Each morning, as I left for my hour-long commute, I found myself wondering why I was still living in my parents' house when my apartment was sitting empty across town. But whenever I hinted at moving back, my mom would whip up her famous apple pie, the one Aura adored, and say things like, "Oh, but we love having you both here. Don't we live so well together?" Aura, with her face smeared with pie, would nod enthusiastically, and I'd suppress my frustration for yet another month. This went on for 3 years. Then, one evening after Aura had gone to bed, my parents had a serious talk with me. "Honey," my mom started, her eyes brimming with tears, "we still have 3 years left on Julisa's wedding loan." My dad chimed in, "We know it's a lot to ask, but could you stay until it's paid off? We're so close to being free of it." I thought about the draining commute and how my life seemed paused, but then I pictured Aura's joy in living with her grandparents. Okay, I agreed. 1 more year. I called my tenants to extend their lease. But everything changed drastically the day I returned from work to find Julissa in the doorway, noticeably pregnant. As she moved aside, my mom shouted from inside, "Move away from the door, Julissa. You'll catch your death in that draft." Inside, it was as if I had stepped back in time. My mom was fussing over Julissa, like she was the only thing that mattered, fluffing pillows, checking her temperature, and ensuring she was completely comfortable. During dinner that night, Julissa announced she planned to have the baby there so our parents could help with the newborn. My mom's face lit up as if it were Christmas. "Of course we will. We'll help with everything." I sat stunned, fork in midair, as the painful memories of seeking her help when Aura was an infant and being refused flooded back. "I can't risk my health taking care of a baby, Greta," she had said then. Now, looking at my mother, I saw the reality I had been denying. Nothing had changed. Julissa would always be the priority, and I was expected to just accept it. Over the next week, I watched as history painfully repeated itself. My mom catered to Julissa, bringing her breakfast in bed, managing her appointments, and filling the house with her favorite snacks. The apple pie that had once been a monthly peace offering to keep Aura and me close stopped appearing altogether. The last straw was overhearing my mom and Julissa discussing plans to convert my room and Aura's into a nursery. I couldn't bear it any longer. I walked into the living room where everyone was gathered, ready to finally address the imbalance that had defined so much of our lives. So that was it. They were going to act as if the last few years had never happened. As if Julissa hadn't left them burdened with a massive loan while I had been the one helping to pay it off. Julissa rolled her eyes dismissively. "Oh, here we go. Saint Greta to the rescue." "Julissa, honey, don't get upset. It's not good for the baby," Mom intervened, ever the peacemaker. "No, let's talk about this," I insisted, pressing on. "Let's discuss how you mortgaged your house for her lavish wedding, and then she just vanished. Let's talk about how I've been shouldering that loan while she's been out living her best life." "That's none of your business," Julissa snapped back sharply. "Nobody asked you to pay anything. If you're so unhappy here, why don't you just go back to your precious apartment?" Mom stepped in, practically shoving me toward the door. "Greta, why don't you run to the store? We need a few things." She handed me a shopping list, adding, It'll give everyone a chance to calm down. I felt like I was being sent away like a child, but I left, hoping the fresh air would help me clear my head. 30 minutes later, I returned with groceries, only to find a heart-wrenching scene. Aura was sitting on the front steps, crying amidst our hastily packed bags and boxes. "Mommy." She ran to me, sobbing. Aunt Julissa yelled at me. She said we had to get out, and when I started crying, she pushed all our stuff out here. Something inside me snapped. I stormed into the house, furious. "How dare you?" I shouted. "How dare you treat my daughter like this?" Dad tried to calm me down, but I was beyond consoling. "No, I will not calm down. For years, I've watched you favor Julissa. When Andrew died, and I needed help with Aura, you couldn't be bothered. But Julissa snaps her fingers and you jump. I've paid your bills and your loan helped save your house, and this is how you repay me? By throwing my child out?" "Now listen here," Mom began. "No, you listen," I cut her off. "I've spent my entire life being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who's supposed to understand whenever Julissa needs something. I've given you everything, and you've given me nothing but scraps of attention when Julissa wasn't here to demand it all." In a moment of rage, I grabbed the grocery bags and hurled them across the room. Eggs cracked and vegetables scattered everywhere. Mom gasped, Julissa smirked, and Dad's face turned red with anger. "Get out," he roared. "Get out of our house and don't you dare come back. You're no daughter of ours." Mom's voice was ice cold. "We never want to see you again." I stood there, breathing hard, looking at these people who were supposed to be my family. Then, I turned and walked out, closing the door on 27 years of trying to be good enough. Standing on the sidewalk that night, surrounded by our hastily packed bags and boxes, I felt utterly lost. Aura's small hand gripped mine tightly as tears rolled down her cheeks. With trembling hands, I pulled out my phone, trying to think clearly. Our apartment was rented out for another year, and I couldn't just evict the tenants legally. I needed to give them 4 months' notice. I called a nearby hotel first, then ordered an Uber XL to help with our bags. As Aura fell asleep in the hotel bed that night, I sat in the darkness with my laptop, searching for a temporary solution. The next morning, I found a furnished, month-to-month rental about 20 minutes from my office. It wasn't perfect, but it would be our new beginning. I had just called my tenant, Lisa, while Aura, my daughter, was having breakfast. "Hi, Lisa." I greeted her, feeling awkward about the conversation that was about to unfold. "I'm sorry, but due to some family changes, I have to give you notice to vacate." Lisa, ever understanding, quickly reassured me. "Of course, we'll start looking for a new place right away. Take care, Greta." The following 4 months were an odd period for us. Aura and I moved into a temporary apartment, which felt like a sort of limbo, not quite homeless, but nowhere near the feeling of being at home. During this time, Aura became unusually quiet, internalizing the tumult of our situation. Finally, Lisa informed us that they had secured another apartment, exactly 4 months after our upheaval began. That day, Aura and I returned to our apartment. As I unlocked the door, a profound sense of relief washed over me. This was our sanctuary, a place free from drama, favoritism, and the constant tension that had plagued us. "We're home," I announced. Aura scampered around, joyously rediscovering her toys and books we'd left behind. Later that night, once Aura was asleep, I took a moment to reevaluate our finances. Without the financial burden of supporting my parents, we were more than just stable. We were thriving. I set up a new savings account for Aura's college fund and arranged for automatic monthly deposits. Life gradually returned to normal. Aura rejoined her old school, where her friends welcomed her back warmly. I dove back into my career, earning a promotion that had previously eluded me due to the distractions at my parents' home. Over the next 7 months, Aura and I settled into a comfortable routine filled with school activities, work, movie nights, and weekend adventures. Just the two of us, no drama, no guilt, no complex family dynamics. Then, one unexpected Sunday morning, a knock at our door jolted me. Peering through the peephole, my heart sank. My parents stood there, holding a baby. Against my better judgment, I opened the door. "Greta, please," my mom began, her tears flowing immediately. "We need your help." My dad appeared aged and worn. "Julisa's gone," he explained. They recounted the whole story right there in the doorway, without an invitation inside. Julisa, my sister, had left after her marriage fell apart, leaving her baby with our parents, who were now overwhelmed. "We can't do this alone, Greta. We need you to move back in, help with the mortgage, help with the baby," my mom pleaded, her expression tired yet manipulative. Looking at them, seeing my mom's calculated tears and my dad's desperation, something clicked inside me. The baby looked up, innocent and unknowing of the family turmoil. "No," I said quietly yet firmly. My mom's tears stopped instantly. I said no. "I won't help you, not this time." "How can you be so heartless?" My mom's voice rose, her anguish echoing down the hallway. "Your own family will be out on the street. They'll take our house all because you're too selfish to help." As neighbors began to peek out from their doors, curious about the commotion, I stood my ground. "You want to do this here?" I challenged.
"Fine.
"Let's talk about how you refused to help me when Andrew died." Standing there, with the past and present colliding, I knew this was a defining moment for me, choosing my and Aura's well-being over returning to a cycle of manipulation and despair. For months after returning home with my young daughter, my parents showed up unexpectedly at my door, with a baby in their arms. My heart sank as I opened the door to their pleading faces. "Greta, please," my mother started, her eyes welling up with tears. "We need your help." They proceeded to explain how my sister Julisa had abandoned not only her marriage, but also her newborn child with them. They were overwhelmed and desperate for assistance. "This isn't about me being heartless," I countered as they stood in my doorway. "This is about you facing the consequences of your own actions." My father's anger flared. "How dare you?" he exclaimed. "How dare I?" "No. How dare you foster a situation where Julisa felt she could do anything without facing any consequences? You financed her lavish wedding, and now she's left you with the debt just as she's left her child. You want me to clean up your mess? Yet again? It's not happening." "You're our daughter," my mother cried. "No," I replied firmly. "I was your daughter. You made it very clear whose side you were on the night you threw my daughter and me out. Now, please leave. Forget my address, forget my phone number, forget I exist, just like you did for most of my life." As I closed the door on their protests, my mother's cries continued, but they no longer reached me. Inside, Aura looked up at me, her small face filled with concern. "Mommy, are you okay?" I walked over and hugged her tightly. "Yes, baby, I'm better than okay. I'm free." That moment marked the last time I saw my parents. I don't know what happened to them, to Julisa or the baby. Occasionally, Aura asks about them, and I'm honest with her. I tell her that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is to walk away from people who hurt you, even if they're family. Nowadays, our life is peaceful and fulfilling. Aura excels in school, I love my job, and we're cultivating the life I always envisioned, one rooted in genuine love, not obligation or manipulation. Sometimes, late at night, I look at old family photos and feel a pang of sadness for what might have been. But then I saw Aura, growing up strong and secure, loved unconditionally, and I know without a doubt that I made the right decision.
My daughter's phone began ringing beside me and displaying my husband's number on the screen. "Laura, your father is calling," I said. "Could you play it on speaker?" she asked. I did as I was asked and put the phone on speaker. Then I hear the voice of my husband. "Good morning, sweetie. How is she getting along? How's she doing?" he inquired. "She just woke up," Laura replied. "She's already awake?" My husband expresses surprise. I held my breath because I didn't understand what he was saying. The story of Mindy, a 45-year-old woman. I am a stay-at-home mom with a husband and a daughter. My husband and I met through a mutual friend. At the time, I was attracted to his sincerity, and we got married. "Mindy, thank you for being a housewife." He thanked me and added, "Should we go on holiday somewhere next time?" "Thank you. Let's go to the spa. I haven't been there in a while," I replied. "Let's go. Let me show you some thanks for taking care of the house," he agreed. On weekends, the two of us would go somewhere together in this manner. Since having our daughter, we've also taken her to amusement parks and zoos. However, after 15 years of marriage, my relationship with my husband has cooled. We were considered a mature couple. Every night I cook dinner, but my husband usually went out to eat after work. He used to eat my cooking. "Did you go out to eat again? I'm cooking for you as well, so at least say something." I was getting frustrated. "Shut up! Who do you think is providing the food for you? Don't disobey me because I'm the breadwinner in this family," my husband yelled at me. When I criticized him, my husband reacted like this all the time. Working at a construction company involved in design and building, he was a large man, so when he didn't like what was happening, my husband would start to act aggressively toward me. As a result, our relationship has already cooled. This was not always the case. We were once a happy married couple, but this is how our relationship is now. I have thought about getting a divorce many times, but we have a daughter, so I stayed with him. My husband's behavior changed about 3 years ago. He used to be a responsible husband, but his attitude shifted abruptly. "I'm home. What's for dinner?" he'd say. "Welcome home, I'll make dinner," I replied. "What? It's not ready yet? You are completely useless. I'm going to eat somewhere," he criticized me. "What? It's almost done," I protested. "It's normal to have dinner ready for the head of the family when he gets home. Can't you even understand that? Anyway, I'm going out to eat," he continued to resent. Initially, he only complained about dinner not being ready, but when he was stressed, he gradually became violent. Occasionally, he would leave bruises on me in inconspicuous places, which was not good. Anyway, my husband hasn't changed for the better. This year marks my daughter's 3rd year of junior high school. She set her sights on her next objective, spending late nights studying with friends and attending cram school to gear up for the entrance exam. My husband and I have a bad relationship, but we act like a normal couple in front of our daughter, so she doesn't know our current situation, or that I was being abused. My husband smiled in front of our daughter, as if he wanted to show her what a good father he was, but my rebellious daughter didn't show much interest in him. Even if my daughter came home late, she had dinner, and she always called me when she was going out to dinner with friends. It wasn't that long ago my daughter arrived home while my husband was taking a bath. "I'm home and I'm hungry," she said. "Laura, welcome back. Because it's late, I made a light dinner," I replied. "Mom, you're so good. Wait, did Dad abandon dinner once more?" she asked, perplexed. "Oh, I believe he ate outside today," I replied calmly. "Again? He should at least say something," she continued to be indignant. "Laura, you must be sick of studying all the time." I decided to change the subject. "No, it's okay. I'm working hard to achieve my goals. Anyway, the side dishes are going to waste. I'd take them to school if I could," she uttered. "Thank you, but don't worry about it," I reassured. "Are you sure? Your cooking is amazing. I wish Daddy would eat dinner at home more often," she encouraged me. She took a bath and returned to her room after finishing her meal. My daughter is going through a difficult time, so I am considering getting through it without divorcing my husband, because divorce is not an option for me right now. I'm getting used to my husband's cold relationship, but there's one more thing that bothers me. My husband takes our daughter to his parents' house on weekends. My in-laws' house is only a few minutes away by car. My mother-in-law is the only one who lives there now, and he and his mother are very close, so he visits often. It would be fine if it was just my husband, but he always brings Laura with him because she is at a critical juncture in her life. I was also taken to my in-laws' house in the past, but my mother-in-law always harassed me. "Mindy, will you go shopping for me?" she'd ask. Would you mind getting me some ketchup, oil, rice, and of course something to drink? Oh, and instead of driving, ride your bike. Are you sure you can do that? She was worried. She purposefully asked me to do heavy shopping and forced me to ride my bike. The mother-in-law intentionally harassed me by not preparing meals for me on special occasions, such as New Year's Eve and Thanksgiving. They also treated me as if I didn't exist, so I started refusing to visit my in-laws. Hey, we're going over to my mother's house again this week, my husband would say. No, your mother-in-law will harass me again, I retorted. What are you on about? Why don't you just do what she says? He replied. Why aren't you on my side? I asked. Oh, you're such a pain. You don't have to come anymore, he responded. As a result, my husband no longer told me he was going to his parents' house. Then he began to take our daughter. My daughter didn't want to go because she needs to study, but my husband kept forcing her. My husband, in a good mood when he came home from his mother, didn't hit me, but I was worried about my daughter. When my daughter returns home from my in-laws' house, she has a gloomy expression on her face and locks herself in her room. The mother-in-law is very protective of my daughter, and I'm sure she hasn't treated her as badly as me. My daughter emerged from her room after my husband had gone to bed. Her face was flushed, and she appeared to be crying. Hey, Mom, she muttered. Is there something wrong? I got excited. Nothing. I'm going to bed because I have school tomorrow, she answered indifferently. Are you sure? I asked and added, Okay, good night. My daughter appeared to want to talk, but I didn't want to make her talk, so I had no idea why she was crying. My husband attempted to take my daughter to his mother's house again one weekend. Hey, we're going again today, he stated. I'm going, Mom, my daughter uttered. My daughter soon began going to my in-laws' house without complaining. She was going to return later that day, so I went to the supermarket to get ingredients for dinner. What am I going to cook today? A beef steak would be nutritious, I thought. My husband took the car, so I took the bus to the store. I got a severe headache while waiting at the bus stop. Another headache. It's really bad today, I thought. I'd been suffering from headaches for 3 weeks. I'd been coping by taking painkillers, but this time, the headache was worse than ever. What is this pain? It's agony, I thought. I fell to the floor. I was in a hospital room when I woke up a few hours later. A passerby had apparently called an ambulance and taken me to the hospital. The doctor informed me that the cause of my headache was unknown and that I needed to stay in the hospital for tests. My daughter came in after the doctor left the room. Mom, are you all right? I got a call from the hospital and rushed here, she exclaimed. Sorry for making you worry. Is Father here too? I questioned. Of course he's not here. I came by myself, she said. Okay, it looks like I'll be in the hospital for a while, I continued. The doctor told me earlier. I'm sure you're just tired, so rest up, Mom. My daughter tried to reassure me. Thank you very much, I replied. My husband was unconcerned about my condition and did not come to the hospital or contact me. While I was pondering this, my daughter brought me some fruit. I got permission, so I brought you some fruits. We can eat it together and you might feel better, she encouraged. All right, thank you, I uttered. My daughter began to place the fruits on a plate. My daughter's cell phone rang at that precise moment. Her phone was by my side with my husband's number displayed on the screen. Laura, it's Dad calling, I said. I can't take the call right now. Could you please switch it to speaker? She asked, feeling a mix of urgency and unease. I did as I was asked and put the phone on speaker. Then I heard the voice of my husband. Good morning, sweetie. How is she getting along? How's she doing? He asked cheerfully. She has just woken up, Laura replied, trying to sound calm. She's already awake? My husband expressed surprise. I held my breath because I didn't understand what he was saying. My daughter, possibly sensing something, took something from her bag. Hey, isn't it bizarre? I can't believe she's already awake. What happened to your wife, Waylon? My mother-in-law's voice interjected from afar. She's already awake? Isn't that strange? I used more than the usual amount, he continued with a hint of frustration. More than usual? I wondered silently. You made sure you mixed the dog medicine for your wife? My mother-in-law asked, sounding conspiratorial. I began with a small dose so it wouldn't be noticeable, but I increased it significantly this time, and it still didn't have the desired effect. My husband explained, sounding puzzled. What? Canine medicine? I thought, horrified. I looked it up and found that it has a bad effect on the human body, but I guess that's not enough, is it? I got some sleeping pills from the psychiatrist last time, so I'll just mix it in with them this time, my husband elaborated. That sounds good to me, my mother-in-law agreed. What are these people discussing? I thought, my mind racing. If this plan works, we might be able to receive her insurance. That wife needs to go. Isn't that a good strategy? My husband continued, sounding disturbingly casual. The rest of the plan is also going well, my mother-in-law added, seemingly pleased. The rest of the plan? I echoed silently, bewildered. They kept talking, oblivious to the fact that I could hear them. I'll be remarried in no time once she is gone. Laura will be my next target to relieve my stress, my husband said nonchalantly. When you said you were going to take her child, I was against it, but now that I think about it, I need another outlet for my stress too, my mother-in-law admitted. Well, she'll be fine. I've properly trained her, Waylon continued. She was a bit of a rebel when she first arrived, but now she's under our control, my mother-in-law agreed with him. Laura, don't tell her about this. You know what will happen if you do. If her condition suddenly worsens, please contact me right away. See you, he concluded, and disconnect. I was stunned at what I heard. My daughter put away what she had just taken out. I'm sorry you're not feeling well, Mom, she said apologetically. I'll tell you everything now, she added, taking a deep breath. So my daughter explained everything that had happened. My husband had an affair with another woman for over 3 years. My mother-in-law was aware of it, and when Waylon visited his mother, he took our daughter with him. He drove her to my mother-in-law's house to gain future custody of her, but also to discipline her to make her an outlet for their violence after I left. My daughter had several bruises when she removed her clothes. She claimed that Waylon, his mother, and the other woman neglected her and gossiped about me. She initially rebelled, but her father threatened her with violence if she continued to rebel. My daughter put up with it and endured it in order to protect me, and she kept it a secret from me. Then, while at the in-laws as usual, she overheard that my husband was planning to kill me. He intended to start by mixing a small amount of heart medicine for dogs with rice, and gradually increasing the amount once you became used to the taste. When she learned about this, my daughter conducted my own investigation in order to obtain proof. When they got the call that I was sick, Waylon was overjoyed and told our daughter to go check on me, so she purposefully put the call on speaker so that I could hear. As soon as the conversation began, she took a recording device from her bag and began recording it. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner, Mom, she said, her voice filled with regret. I know it's shocking to learn what he did, but this way you can get a divorce and you can get custody, right? She asked with hopeful. I've been keeping a secret from you. He used to beat me up when you weren't here. I'm sorry for not informing you, she added, her voice filled with sorrow. I guess it's both of our faults then. Now we have to fight back against them, I uttered firmly. If they are arrested, people might call you a daughter of a criminal. Are you all right with that? I asked, concerned. I'll be just fine. I have proof of the violence and am aware of it, because I discussed it with a friend, and I'm going to take you maiden name instead of his, she replied confidently. I didn't know you thought this through that much. Let's fight back, I said, feeling proud of her. So I contacted my lawyer and the police. I told the arriving cops, lawyer, and doctor what had happened. The police discovered heart medication for dogs, as well as many internet purchase records at the in-laws. As a result, my mother-in-law, my husband, and my husband's mistress was arrested for attempted murder. My husband had taken out a large life insurance policy on me and planned to have a good time after the divorce. According to their subsequent statements, they also intended to take custody of my daughter, not only to relieve their stress, but also to force her to do housework. He also didn't want to pay child support if we divorced, so he was attempting to gain custody. When I heard the entire story from the cops, I was outraged at how ridiculous my husband's plan was. It is never acceptable to kill, and the mother-in-law and mistress who agreed to it were insane. My daughter had become the daughter of a criminal, but she didn't seem to mind. My husband and I divorced right away, and my daughter and I changed her surname to my maiden name. We considered changing schools, but my daughter explained the incident to school officials and her classmates. She stressed that her father was the bad guy, so she was not bullied. Her preparation for the entrance exams was successful, and she passed the exam for the nursing school she hoped to attend. Because the nursing school was close to my parents' house, we decided to move in with them after my daughter graduated from high school. When my husband is released from prison, I will file a compensation claim with my lawyer. I was able to leave the hospital a few weeks later, feeling much better. I now work from home writing essays and novels on my blog. Perhaps I'm clearing up the past by writing essays about how my husband and mother-in-law have treated me. Despite experiencing flashbacks from the trauma caused by my husband, my life at home with my daughter is now very peaceful, and I cherish each day without fear. I am confident that the memories of the past will fade gradually over the course of my happy days, and that one day I'll be able to forget them and begin my life anew. My name is Aileen. It's been 4 years since I graduated from vet school, and now I'm a 28-year-old working at a dog specialist clinic. Currently, I live alone near the clinic to manage the night shift, but my 6-year older brother and my 2-year younger brother visit me on their way to and from work and on holidays, bringing me home-cooked meals from our mother. Considering I'm not too skilled in the kitchen, I'm truly grateful. The other day, my older brother Dave swung by after work. "Hey, you about to finish your shift? I have something to discuss, so how about grabbing dinner together?" he said casually. "Sounds good, but I'm beat from being on my feet all day. How about we get takeout and eat at my place?" I replied tiredly. "Fair enough, then lend me your keys. I'll pick up something from the food court at the mall nearby," he said nonchalantly. "Okay, and sorry if it's a bit messy in there," I said apologetically. It was odd for Dave to have something to discuss with me. Unlike my younger brother who comes to me for advice on everything from love stories to money troubles, Dave isn't usually the one initiating serious conversations, and he's not the type to complain about his job either. So I was a bit on edge as I headed home, wondering what it could be about. "Listen, I understand you're busy with work, but you need to clean up a bit more regularly. You can't even invite a boyfriend over with the place looking like this," Dave chuckled teasingly. "Hey, mind your own business. I've been working a lot of night shifts recently. By the time I get home and wake up, it's nearly evening. Between catching up on household chores and going back to work, it becomes too late to start vacuuming. If it comes down to cleaning or doing laundry, laundry wins," I retorted defensively. "Well, at least take out the trash more often, ha ha," he replied laughingly. All right. So was your big talk just to lecture me on my lifestyle?" I asked curiously. "No, actually, there's a potential marriage proposal on the table," he said seriously. "What? Marriage? Who's getting married?" I exclaimed, shocked. "You don't think I'd be talking about a marriage proposal for you, do you?" He smirked teasingly. "Wait, you mean you're getting married? Are you kidding me?" I asked in shock. Whoa, are you calling me a liar?" "That's rude," He laughed it off, jokingly. This is my brother Dave, athletic and outgoing. At first glance, he might seem like the picture-perfect professional. But the truth is, he went to an all-boys school through middle school and high school, studied a science major in college, and was always involved in athletic clubs. As a result, he spent most of his student life surrounded by men and struggles with the subtleties of understanding others' feelings, let alone dealing with women. Hearing the word marriage coming from such a brother was quite a surprise for me. Well, to be honest, I still have some doubts, he admitted hesitantly. So who's the one marrying you? Someone I know? I asked curiously. Well, you might know her, or you might not, he mused thoughtfully. Seriously, who is it? I inquired impatiently. It's Professor Hall's daughter, the professor who supervised you. Her name is Noah. I think you both graduated from the same university, but you might not be familiar with her since you were in different departments, he revealed matter-of-factly. What? No way! I let out a shrill scream that seemed to come from the top of my head, and for good reason. If my memory serves me correctly, my brother's bride-to-be is a woman who could be described as my nemesis. The university I graduated from is a massive private university with numerous departments and a large number of students. My department, veterinary medicine, was located far from the main campus, so most students graduate with little interaction with students from other departments. However, I joined a board game club that I had loved since I was a child. As a result, I was blessed with friends and seniors from various departments. But the one who threatened the joy out of our harmonious club activities was none other than Noah, a member of the club next door to ours. Noah, the daughter of a professor at our university, was a standout beauty even among the in-house students. She was a female student who was always surrounded by admirers in various clubs. But when her club was suspended due to activities against the university's regulations, Noah, with too much time on her hands, temporarily joined our club. Initially, we were perplexed, but we accepted her, hoping to introduce her to the charm of board games. But Noah's objective was not board games. Of course, she was there to stir up the club, quite literally. One couple that fell victim to her was my best friend Mirabelle and Liam. Mirabelle and Liam were an official couple since high school and enrolled in the same architecture department. They had a dream of owning an architecture firm together in the future. However, Liam fell easily before Noah's tricks. On our way back from a trip with other female friends, when Mirabelle and I stopped by Liam's apartment to deliver souvenirs, we ran into Noah wearing his shirt from inside his room. What is this? Why is Noah here? Mirabelle asked angrily. Well, this is... Liam stammered nervously. Don't dodge my question. Answer me. And Noah, you answer too. Why are you doing this? Mirabelle demanded furiously. Hey, don't make a scene. You're being a nuisance to the neighbor, you know? Besides, I had no idea he had a girlfriend. Ha ha, Noah replied and laughed. So you're saying you were behind Mirabelle and the others breaking up, weren't you? I accused angrily. Is that true? Does that mean you've done this with Ryder and Evan too? Mirabelle asked in disbelief. 'Cause trouble? That's a mean way to put it, ha 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 ha. I just thought that he wouldn't break up with his girlfriend over a meal or two. If he likes me that much, well, I can't help it, can I? Ha 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 ha, Noah said laughingly. As an excuse, it's a pretty terrible one. Liam, what about this woman do you like so much that you betrayed Mirabelle? I asked angrily. Wait, Noah, you're joking, right? You're serious about me, not like with Ryder and Evan, right? Tell me that's right, Liam pleaded desperately. What? Serious? Me with you? That's obviously impossible. No way, just think about it. Do you really think a man like you, out of nowhere, could be a match for me? You touched a star for a moment, so you should cherish that as a lifetime memory. Oh, but maybe you've used up your lifetime's luck, Noah said dismissively. As Liam crumbled, Noah quickly changed her clothes and came over to where Mirabelle and I were standing with grim faces at the entrance. Then, pushing crying Liam towards us, she said, "Ah, this is just too much trouble. Here, take him back, will ya? Besides, I don't remember making him mine, ha ha ha." Noah laughed. Stunned by her words, we watched as she added, "I'd be bothered if he kept acting like my boyfriend, so it might be better if you just take him back. You two should get back together. Recycle, reuse, whatever you want, ha ha ha," she finished, before walking away toward the main street. After that, I dragged Mirabelle to her apartment, and we took turns staying over until her emotions settled. In the end, Mirabelle and Liam broke up, and Liam dropped out of university. The group was filled with people who had been messed with by Noah and became ex-couples with a similar history, leading to an awkward atmosphere and members quitting one after another, causing the club to collapse. Frankly, I have nothing but memories of the latter half of my fun college days being ruined by Noah. It was quite a shock when the topic of marriage between Noah and my brother came up. When I asked how on earth they met, my brother said, "Well, it's not so much that we met, but the vice president of a client company I'm working with said, 'I have a niece who hasn't gotten married yet. Would you like to meet her?' And since I didn't have a reason to refuse, and I wasn't dating anyone, I agreed to meet her. For some reason, she liked me, and things just went really fast from there," Dave explained casually. "Huh, but are you okay with that, bro?" "I think marriage is a pretty big decision," I said, concerned. Honestly, I don't really care either way," he said rather casually. "Actually, my brother Dave has a somewhat careless, hands-off attitude when it comes to important decisions. Even though he doesn't appear to take them seriously, when he realizes the consequences of his decisions aren't good for him, he has no problem cutting his losses and moving on without any shame. He hardly ever considers how much trouble he causes to those around him. It's really unbearable for those who get caught up in his mess. But if you think about it, as long as there's no malice involved, it's only slightly better than Noah, who is just as irresponsible in her own way. At this point, it might be wise to leave them alone unless the sparks fall on us. I barely audibly spoke my thoughts aloud. "Huh? Did you say something?" Dave asked, confused. "Nope, it's nothing," I replied dismissively. After that, the marriage talks between Dave and Noah were officially confirmed, and the two families proceeded with formalities like meeting each other and exchanging gifts. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I had a hard time taking weekends off, so I was unable to attend any of those events. The day of Dave's wedding came. On that auspicious day, blessed with clear weather, I had finally managed to take a day off to attend Dave's wedding. First, there was a pre-wedding photo shoot at the chapel in the hotel. The photographer allowed family members to take pictures with their cameras and smartphones. As a result, the photo shoot began with both families watching. Noah and Dave, dressed in a tailcoat and wedding dress, made quite the picturesque couple. I was busy taking photos myself, when several times my eyes met Noah's through the camera lens. After the photo shoot went smoothly, we had a quick rehearsal for the ceremony, and then it was time for family introductions. The groom's side introduction started with my father, and when it was my turn, Noah's expression changed for a moment. The bride's side introduction went smoothly as well. During the break before the ceremony, I was talking with other family members in the waiting room when a staff member brought a note from Noah calling for me. When I went to the bride's waiting room, she said, "No way, seriously? I can't believe it," Noah said, surprised. "Haha, what's so unbelievable?" I asked, curious. "Oh, that we're going to be sisters-in-law. It's quite a coincidence, isn't it?" Noah replied, smiling. "I can't believe it either. Ugh, I knew he had a sister, but I thought there was no way it would be you with the same name. Talk about being caught off guard." "Haha," I responded, laughing. So you wrote on the note that you had something to say? I asked. Then, seemingly irked, Noah smacked the table with a bang. I don't want to see your smug face throughout this whole wedding ceremony and reception. You finally became a vet, right? You've always excused yourself from participating in events because of work. So why don't you just go make up some excuse about being called in urgently and go home right now? You look better in your grubby white coat than in a dress you're not used to wearing after all, said Noah disdainfully. I was momentarily taken aback, but on reflection, there was indeed no need for me to grace the event with my presence. So, with a broad smile like a waiter at some bar, I gladly left the bride's waiting room saying, "Sure thing, with pleasure," I said, smiling. At the cloakroom, I collected my coat and promptly set off home. However, the next day, Noah, who was supposed to be going on her honeymoon, showed up at the animal hospital where I work, all alone, and began to scream at me. "Hey, what's the deal? Why are you acquainted with my uncles?" shouted Noah, angrily. "What's the fuss about so early in the morning? You're scaring the dogs we have here for care," I said, trying to calm her down. "I don't care about the dogs. I have bigger problems." Noah continued to raise her voice. I decided to get permission from the hospital director to take her to the double-doored operation room to have a talk. "So what do you want to talk about? Is it okay for you to be here? I heard you were going on your honeymoon this afternoon," I asked, concerned. "There's no honeymoon. The wedding itself is likely to be cancelled," said Noah, distressed. "Oh, why is that? I thought my brother would be thrilled to be marrying such a sought-after woman," I said, surprised. "That's what I thought too, but after the reception yesterday, he was talking for a long time with my aunt and uncle, and then he suddenly said, 'I'm calling off this wedding,'" Noah explained, upset. "Oh, really? My brother has quite a bold move, doesn't he?" I said, trying to lighten the mood. "It's not funny." And my aunt and uncle, instead of reprimanding him, they started saying things to me like, "We won't consider you our niece anymore, you ungrateful, shameless girl. We don't know a daughter like you." "You must have done something, confess," Noah said, frustrated. At that point, I explained that I had not done anything on my end, just that I happened to know Noah's aunt and uncle. After the family introductions, I had a conversation with them saying, "What a coincidence," and was then told by you to go home, so I just went home. But then I got a message from your aunt and uncle, who found it strange that I didn't attend the wedding or reception, and I just answered honestly to their questions, I replied, recalling the events. "Honestly, what did you tell them?" asked Noah anxiously. "Well, first I said that I went home because you told me I was annoying. Then they asked, why would Noah say such a thing to the bride's sister? And I suggested maybe it's due to some grudges from our student days," I explained. "Well, what? What were you thinking? Of course they would ask more questions," Noah exclaimed, frustrated. "So I honestly recounted our past as accurately as I could remember it," I replied. "But that should only anger your brother. Why would my aunt and uncle be furious?" Noah asked, confused. That's when I explained the reason, why Noah's aunt and uncle might have been furious. "In fact, your aunt and uncle do not have any children, and they are crazy about their pet Shih Tzu," I began to explain. "When they were walking their Shih Tzu, they had a horrible collision with a sports bike that suddenly rushed out of a crossroad. The dog was seriously injured and rushed to this vet clinic, and emergency surgery was necessary. But the dog had lost a lot of blood, and it seemed like the blood available from the clinic's own donation dogs would not be sufficient in time. That's when the clinic got in touch with volunteer dog owners, who had registered to donate blood in emergency situations. The one who came running was Mirabelle, and her beloved pet Landau. Mirabelle is an architect-designer working for a major company. After her graduation, she adopted a puppy born at the home of a client she had become friendly with, and kept it as a pet. Thanks to Mirabelle's dog, the Shih Tzu surgery was a success. As a token of their deep gratitude, the couple requested Mirabelle's company to renovate their vacation house. They got even closer to Mirabelle and were enraged when they heard her complain while she was tipsy about a shameless woman who ruined her relationship with her college boyfriend. However, they hadn't asked Mirabelle for the name of the woman, considering it inappropriate. When they heard my story, they realized that the shameless woman was their own niece. You, I concluded and continued. Then they confessed everything to my parents, my brother, and your parents, while also declaring the disownment of you. My brother, for whom you were a precious niece of a major client, no longer saw any point in marrying you as your value as a sales point vanished, I explained. However, I didn't understand why your parents were also furious and kicked you out. After all, your father, Professor Hall, was also my teacher back in college. He was known for his deep love for his daughter and had always been the one to clean up her messes, I added. My father is also close to retirement. He was planning to open a vet clinic, Noah replied. Really? The professor? I uttered in surprise. By setting up a clinic, securing parking space, and all the costs are tremendous. There's no way he could cover all that with just his retirement money. He was planning to ask his brother for a loan, but now, after all this, they are saying, this is all because you failed to raise your daughter properly, and it looks like they won't lend him any money. That's why they are all cutting ties with me, Noah concluded. It seems like it's too late for them to realize their mistake though, huh? I smirked. Stop joking around and help me out, she pleaded. I don't think I can do anything about this, I replied. Please, I'll do anything. I'll even kneel down, Noah begged. I don't know how much your kneeling is worth, but I really don't need that, I said firmly. Even after that, she kept begging me tearfully, but in the end, the director of the clinics threatened to call the police to stop the scandal. Reluctantly, she left. When Noah realized she couldn't persuade me, she ran to my brother Dave and to her aunt and uncle, begging them while crying, but they didn't listen to her. Moreover, Noah's bad reputation spread from her aunt and uncle to her relatives, and from the relatives to the other people she knew, until nobody paid any attention to her anymore. She quit her job and started living in an old apartment managed by a distant relative that her image-conscious parents rented for her. As for me, I'm busy every day with my job as a vet, which I believe is my true calling. On the other hand, my unrepentant brother Dave seems quite pleased, saying, now that I've become a man who can no longer dream of marriage, people might sympathize with me, but at least I won't have to deal with any unnecessary meddling. Our parents seem to have a headache with their children, including my younger brother, who don't seem to have any prospects for romantic relationships. But they believe that everything happens for a reason, so they decide to take it easy and not rush things.